Tennessee Life is supported through the financial support of viewers like you. Thank you. Coming up on this edition of Tennessee Life, get a peek behind the curtain at Theatre Knoxville, where new renditions of old classics come to life.
I really like his work because he knows how to take a classic that everybody knows and turn it into something that was his own, something very different. Like, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde it's different than the book.
Can a cemetery be a museum? Russell Coleman with Old Gray Cemetery thinks it's an often overlooked aspect of this historic site.
We have a lot of visitors that come from town, out of state to see it. Historic cemeteries have created a lot of interest in a lot of people.
Life is full of crossroads, but is it as confusing as a corn maze? We head to Greenback just to get a little lost along the way.
And Maple Lane Farms is a staple. It's one of the original corn mazes in the area, if not the original corn maze in the area, and it's always been a staple.
Those stories next on Tennessee Life.
I'm Vicki Lawson. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Tennessee Life. When the weather turns cold, Theatre Knoxville in the heart of downtown opens its doors to those looking for a little drama on a night out.
This is what I know. I'll tell you what I know, what I saw, what I heard.
The events as I would recall them.
I cannot speak for what I have not witnessed.
Blackout.
I hope they're entertained. You know, they get scared a little bit because the lights and the way we're going to do it, it's going to be creepy and scary. I mean, we're leading up into Halloween, so that's the point. It's to be entertained.
I am afraid.
Then run.
Run.
My name is Tom Eubanks, and I'm the director of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde at Theatre Knoxville downtown. I studied directing in college at Moore Park College in California and UCLA, and then went on to direct locally there briefly before I went into a different profession for about 20 years. And then in my 40s, I got involved with the Ojai Arts Center Theater, where I began directing again. This show, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, is my 70th show I've directed.
Pick up the pacing a little bit. You're getting real slow after that.
I love film, but once it's in the can, it's done. That's the way it is. This is different every night. There's an exchange between the audience and the actors that can't be really described unless you've been an actor.
Dr. Lanyon, I've asked to set you with this message.
The author, who's an adapter, he adapted it, is Jeffrey Hatcher, and I'm familiar with him. And he adapts classics, and I really like his work because he knows how to take a classic that everybody knows and turn it into something that was his own, something very different. Like, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is very different it's different than the book. In the novella, there is no character of Elizabeth, and there is in the play that he adapted. He decided to put a romantic element to the play where when he's Hyde, who's the evil character, falling in love with this woman who falls in love with him. And it plays to what the book was about, which is the duality of humanity, where we all have both evil and good in us. And it's just levels, you know, like Jekyll is 70% good, but he has his 30%. I mean, he ends up killing his best friend. And then Hyde, who's the bad guy, is 70% bad, but he has that humanity. So that, in a nutshell, is what thematically the play is about. But what Hatcher, the adapter, did was to add the romantic element to it, because Elizabeth is not even a character in the novella. But I really liked that element. It brought something different. And what he also did was that he created 4 Hydes. There are 4 actors who play multiple roles, and they all play Hyde, and sometimes the Hydes are all on stage at the same time. You have basically 6 actors playing 30 roles. Wow. And I added 2 actors to take some of the smaller roles because I wanted to condense it down so that the main 6, and because 2 of those 6 only play 1 role. Jekyll and Elizabeth only play 1 role. So you have 4 actors that are playing 20 roles, 18, 20 roles. And they have to do it organically. There's no costume changes. We were working down in the basement for the first 2 weeks, which is a much smaller space. So when we got up here, we had to make all sorts of corrections. And then we got this set started to being built. And so we had to make more corrections. All that's in that first 3 weeks, pretty much. So now I'm actually doing a lot more directing and working their performances. And then we go into Tech Week. But next week, we're going to be doing full run-throughs. And so I'm looking for pacing. They now they're off book. They don't have the book in their hand. They know their lines pretty well.
We've got it figured out. Okay, the other thing to throw into play, I have a question. Poole leaves and leaves the door open, then Utterson leaves out the door and leaves it open. That way,
I have an artistic eye for the visual aspect of it, and lighting and staging, and this adaptation is elevated by the lighting and the staging, and I've done a lot of plays like that. Mainly my experience. I've been able to make a lot of blunders over the years, 30 years doing it, and I love working with actors. I don't see them as just props on the stage, and I'm good at preparation. I ran a business for many years, and so I believe in preparation, and I really study the script. I read everything I can get my hands on. I believe that a director should know the play better than anyone in the room, and so I do. I come prepared. I stage the play in advance, then we make changes. But I come with something to work with. It's just from experience doing it all, I think just my experience over time, I've been able to put all that together, and hopefully it comes out the way I planned it. Well, the casting process was fairly short, so what I looked for was an intuition. And the way I do that, I watch how they use their body and their eyes, because actors who are intuitive, it's not just about how they deliver a line, it's how they use the whole body and their voice and especially their eyes.
No, stay.
So I looked for that, and I got lucky because I didn't know this at the time, but one of the producers and board members here told me that I got some of the cream of the crop in Knoxville that all came out because they wanted to be in this particular play. Not because of me, but the play. And so I had a lot of people to choose from. But it's just basically I was looking for people that had just a presence on stage and seemed to be intuitive, because it was going to take that to pull off working multiple characters like this.
In the canine's teeth. Full dissection. Tickets are going fast.
I allow the actors to develop their characters over about 3 weeks. And then beginning in the 4th week, I begin to kind of direct them into how I see the character and to get them away from their idiosyncrasies that don't work, their little mannerisms that don't work, articulation, where they're talking too fast, they're not articulating well enough and hitting the D's and the T's, things that actors tend to do once they learn the lines. They begin to speak faster and they forget about the audience. They're focused, they're in their own heads up on the stage. So what I'm trying to do is to get them to understand that they're performing. They're not just working with other actors on stage like they have been for 3 weeks. There's a lot of talent here. To be honest, I was surprised at the level of talent here in this big little city of Knoxville.
So what am I to know?
It's a great way to support the arts,
They're in the desk clerk.
not just for you. I mean, an audience gets something out of it, but they can also give something to the arts, which are important. It's not like going to a concert where you have a zillion people and it's loud, but here you can sit quietly in a comfortable chair and enjoy a play live with actors right there in front of you.
Read the boardroom!
Across the garden!
This way!
Later on Tennessee Life, crafting a corn maze is no small feat.
It has to be planted a certain way, but the design is not in the maze when we plant it. We actually have to physically plant the maze. Once it gets to a certain maturity, we have to go in, boots on the ground, and make the design happen.
But first, take a stroll around Old Gray Cemetery.
Have you ever thought of a cemetery as a museum? Well, Russell Coleman with Old Gray Cemetery hopes you'll see this green space as a window into Knoxville's past.
This place is such a tranquil place. It's a beautiful place to come walk, stroll, meet people, to see these trees maintained and the monuments preserved. That's where I get my pleasure from this place. I'm Russell Coleman. I'm president of the Board of Trustees of Old Gray Cemetery here in North Knoxville. I started coming here when I was about 15 years old. My parents would drive me through, and I've got 5 great-grandparents that are buried here, and they would point out various relatives besides the great-grandparents and the stories connected to all of them. And not everybody was a saint, but they were all very interesting. This is my great-grandparents on my dad's side. So Frederick Coleman, who came from Osnabrück, Germany. He was actually a partner with Peter Kern. Then he became a candy maker, and his son actually ended up buying Kern's Bakery from Peter Kern's estate. Old Gray was founded in 1850. It was actually founded as Gray Cemetery. It was named after Thomas Gray, the poet. Later on, New Gray Cemetery was founded on Western Avenue, and so Gray Cemetery became Old Gray Cemetery by default. Just outside of Knoxville, this part of town was pretty wide open at that point. It was mostly pasture land, yes. There's 13 acres here. Now, we're almost downtown. It's the largest green space in downtown Knoxville. Beautiful historic trees. It's an outdoor art museum with beautiful monuments from turn of the century. It was laid out with a Victorian design. Lots of nice driveways and walkways, designed not to have a lot of monuments crammed together, but with some spacious cemetery plots. But it was also, back in the day, people would come to the cemetery after church on Sunday. They would have a picnic on their family plots and drive through after church. Back when the first cars were available, people would drive through every Sunday after church, and typically the church is downtown because that was what was around. Prior to that, you'd come with your horse and buggy. A lot of notable monuments here, quite a few obelisks. There appeared to have been some kind of competition about who had the tallest obelisk, but the Tyson family does. They're here in the Tyson Circle, which is adjacent to Tyson Street. It's a beautiful monument, along with a lot of other beautiful ones. The Henson family has a beautiful mausoleum that's over next to the Federal Military Cemetery. The Brownlows are here. Governor Brownlow, famous Tennessee name, not only Knoxville, but Tennessee. The Maynard family, and Peter Kern is buried here. He's a German immigrant that founded Kern's Bakery, a pretty famous Market Street bakery. Also buried here, Lizzie Crozier French, who was a leader in Knoxville and in Tennessee for the suffragette movement that gave women the right to vote. We have a lot of talented artists buried here. We've got the Wiley sisters, who painted a lot of beautiful landscapes and sceneries here in Knoxville. Russell Briscoe is buried here. He painted a lot of local history, a lot of buildings. Early founders of UT, they're buried here as well. A lot of well-known Knoxvillians are buried here. It's something we're trying to maintain and make available for people to stroll through, walk their dogs, ride their bikes, and just enjoy this beautiful outdoor green space. About 6 years ago, we had a capital campaign to treat these trees. Some of these trees are 150 years old. They're just beautiful, huge trees that we're trying to save and make healthy, so we raise money for that. And we also raise money to recreate the Ella Albers Fountain. This fountain was donated in 1890 by the Albers family in memory of Ella Albers. It fell into disrepair and was disassembled. Some of the metal went for bullets for World War II. So we were able to find pictures of that fountain and recreate it, and it's running as a beautiful addition to the cemetery. So the future, we hope to maintain this beautiful place, to protect it, preserve it, and open it up for visitors. We have a lot of visitors that come from out of town, out of state to see it. Historic cemeteries have created a lot of interest in a lot of people. I've been coming here for 50 years and I see something different every time I come. So it's a great place to come and stroll and enjoy this outdoor art museum.
Maple Lane Farms is a staple in Greenback and one of East Tennessee's most popular corn mazes, and they are proud of the fall traditions they've helped create for countless families through the years.
Managing a place like this is kind of a different animal. You know, there's a lot of logistics involved, a lot of good people that work for us involved, and it's not just farm management, it's a business as well. You know, it's managing a business and a lot of stuff going on all the time. My name's Nick Brown. I'm the farm manager here at Maple Lane Farms. I've been here about 7 years, since 2016. The family that owns the farm asked me to step in after their son had passed away and kind of help keep the farm going, and I've been here ever since. Back in 1999, Bob Schmidt and the Schmidt family started Maple Lane Farms. For many years, it started off as just a pumpkin patch with a hayride. That's all we really did at first, and it took off. And you know, we started getting inquiries from different schools and things, and it blew up. So we wanted to add, and the corn maze was born. The corn maze is a different animal, so it'll start as soon as we wrap up this year. We'll be planting the 2023 corn maze, so we'll start planting in November. Usually we're working as far as field crop wise, we're doing cover crops and things like that just to keep the dirt and everything, the soil compositions and everything proper for the maize. Actually working dirt and planting the maize will go from March on into July, and we're usually putting the design in, you know, late July, 1st of August. It's a year-round deal. October is really our time to kind of enjoy all the people coming and keeping their fall traditions alive. There's some things I gotta keep under my hat as far as the design goes. But yeah, it does take a crew to design a maze proper and do it to the caliber we do it. We also have title sponsors. This year we're working with Visit Knoxville, and we're helping them celebrate the 1982 World's Fair. It's their 40th anniversary, so a lot of excitement around that. It has to be planted a certain way, but the design is not in the maze when we plant it. We actually have to physically plant the maze. Once it gets to a certain maturity, we have to go in, boots on the ground, and make the design happen. We really try to cater to local businesses that want to put their name on basically the world's biggest billboard. So we have a direct flight overhead for McGee-Tyson Airport. So, you know, everybody flying in can look down and see who our sponsor is for the year. And we just base it off of local businesses, and whoever sponsors the maze is kind of how we dictate what the design will be. McGee-Tyson sponsored us a few years ago, so that was kind of a big deal, and that was one of the big reasons why, because all the pilots could come in and kind of see the maze, you know, and so that was a big deal. You know, the maze, it's about 1.5 miles, 1.75 miles long. We have 2 halves to the maze, about 5,000 steps or so. And we do have a crew that goes in every Thursday and gets anybody that gets lost. They'll get them out every Thursday, and we get usually 2/3 of them out every week. So.
What happens when we throw sand? Here, find that first white pole that has the number 1 on it. Answer that first question, have fun and get lost.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna totally have fun.
We mainly bring in local people. A lot of them are friends of the family and different things, and they're, you know, rooted in the tradition as well, and they're happy to be here, and we're absolutely happy to have them because we want to keep this alive for as long as we can.
Alrighty. Thank you so much.
Here you go. If y'all want to wait right here at the entrance, we'll let them get ahead of you, and then we'll send y'all in.
Sounds good.
I've been at the maze about 5 years now. Here at the maze, I'm in charge of the passport tent. That's where you get your passport through the maze. This is a questionnaire. It's got 10 questions on it. We have 10 posts inside. You answer the question, it tells you the direction to go. If you choose the right direction, then you're fine, and if you choose the wrong one, then you're lost. Every year we do have a selection of passports to choose from. There's different categories. This year our new passports are 1982 World's Fair and local high school trivia. I knew Bob Schmidt when he used to rent our land up the road, and we've been coming to this pumpkin patch since he opened it. When we're closing up and we're all talking about how everything went, we love to know how many people come out here smiling, how many are coming back.
I'm Colin Porter, and I've worked here for about 5 years, and I am usually on the tractors taking people out to the pumpkin patch. I'm from Maryville, Tennessee, and I have been friends with Nick for quite a few years. I'm actually friends with his younger brother, and that's how I got introduced to working down here at Maple Lane. Every year we're usually a little bit more busy, and that really tickles me because we are expanding the farm and getting more business down here and just giving more and more people a great experience.
12, 10, or 4. That's when he was what? In his first term. Which one looks like there's more? Well.
We have a mini maze for smaller kids to go through. We also have bounce houses. We have a very nice cafe. Actually, the lady that owns the diner down the road here in small town Greenback runs our cafe for us, so she's always whipping something up nice in the cafe. And like I said, we have the pumpkin patches and the hay rides. People are welcome to come and buy any fall decor or anything they might need for their festivities at their own home. We're always looking to stay fresh, but we don't want to get outside of our roots. I knew the stature of the place. You know, a lot of people know about this place, and I knew it carried a lot of weight with me when I was asked, will you help out here? and it was very important to me to keep the traditions alive. So I took a load onto my shoulders, and I've worked very hard to try to keep these traditions going for the community and even our extended community. So we have people from all over the place, all over the world that come out. We have people from Japan that come out. So it's, you know, people that work at Denso might have family come in and they'll bring their family, and that they're here from Japan, and they'll come out and they love it. They've never seen anything like it. Well, Greenback's a small community, and Maple Lane Farms is a staple, absolutely, for Greenback, but not just Greenback, all of basically East Tennessee. It's one of the original corn mazes in the area, if not the original corn maze in the area, and it's just always been a staple.
Get out there and enjoy this fall season. I'm Vicki Lawson. See you on the next Tennessee Life.
A DVD of this program is available by visiting easttennesseepbs.org.